Assalamu alaikum. So now let's begin with a new chapter on flow measurement. Let's see some flow measurement devices. For pipe flow, where the flow is under pressure, we have already discussed discharge measurement through venturi meter, through orifice meter and pitot static tube. And in this lecture, we are going to discuss mainly the orifice, mouthpieces and nozzles. Then for discharge from an open channel, we have notches and weir. We are going to see them in a little while. And pitot tube, it was already discussed in our previous slides. Let's see the Torricelli equation. For that, consider two sections, the point A on the liquid surface and point B at the opening on the side near the right bottom of the tank as shown. So this is the small opening on the side of the tank, which is known as orifice, and the liquid, it passes through the orifice and it is open to atmosphere and it is known as jet. So capital H is the head over the orifice causing the flow, and V is the velocity of fluid jet. Now apply Bernoulli's equation at point A and B. As we know, the sum of three energy head is constant for both sections. So the sum of elevation head, pressure head and kinetic head is constant at section A and B, where ZA is the elevation to the point A from any datum. Let's say the datum is our bottom of the container. So the distance from this bottom container to the water surface is ZA, and as it is on water surface, so it is open to atmosphere, so we have atmospheric pressure over here, and as we measure gauge pressure, so PA over gamma is 0, and the particles on the liquid surface, they have negligible velocity, so VA square over 2G is also 0. Now consider the point B. So distance from the same datum till point B is ZB, and as it is open to atmosphere, so PB over gamma is 0, and VB is the velocity of this jet, so VB square over 2G. Now this capital H is actually ZA minus ZB, the elevation difference between the 2 points, and just rearrange the expression, we get V theoretical, which is the theoretical velocity of this fluid jet, is equal to square root 2GH, where H is the head of fluid causing the flow. So Torricelli equation states that the theoretical velocity is proportional to square root of H. An orifice is an opening, usually circular, in the side or base of a tank or reservoir through which fluid is discharged in a form of a jet, usually into atmosphere. As you can see over here, we have an horizontal orifice at the base of the tank, and we have a vertical orifice on the side of the wall of the container. So the discharge through an orifice depends upon the head. As you know, discharge is area into velocity, and velocity is directly proportional to square root of head h, and area depends upon the size, shape and the form of orifice. The different classification of orifice, we are going to see it in the next slide, and one of which is sharp edge, which is provided in order to reduce friction. As you can see in this figure, this is a sharp edge orifice, and as you know, the streamline, they converge so that they can pass through the orifice opening, and they converge, and after passing through the opening, due to inertia, they continue to converge, and they reach at a section which is almost located at a distance of d by 2 from the orifice, and this particular section, this is known as vena contracta. So this contraction also depends upon the head, shape and size of orifice. Let's see the classification of orifice. According to size, an orifice can be classified as small or large based on its diameter. If the diameter of orifice is less than h by 5, it is termed as a small orifice, and as a velocity, it does not vary appreciably from top to bottom edge of the orifice, hence it is assumed to be uniform. If the diameter of orifice is greater than h by 5, it is termed as large orifice, and the variation in velocity from top to bottom edge is significant, hence it needs to be considered. According to shape, orifices are available in variety of shapes like circular, rectangular, square and triangular. According to the shape of the upstream edge, we have a sharp edge orifice. As you can see in this figure, the inner edge of the orifice is sharpened in order to reduce friction. Then we have bell mounted orifice in which the upstream edge is rounded, and due to this rounded shape the friction is further reduced. And a flat orifice which has the square upstream edge. Then according to the discharge condition, we have a free discharge orifice and a submerged orifice. Free discharge orifice is that in which the liquid, after passing through the orifice, it is open to atmosphere. So the jet has atmospheric pressure. While the submerged orifice has further two conditions, fully submerged orifice or partially submerged orifice, in which the liquid, after passing through the orifice, it is surrounded by a liquid. Vena contracta is a very common phenomena which occurs on jet. After passing through the orifice, the streamlines they continue to converge. Due to inertia, the streamlines they continue to converge and they reach a section where the streamlines have become parallel, and the diameter of jet at that section is minimum. So these are the two characteristics for vena contracta, that the streamlines are parallel and the diameter of jet is minimum. And it can be located at a distance of approximately 0.5 times the diameter of orifice from the wall of the tank. There are three hydraulic coefficients for an orifice: the coefficient of contraction, coefficient of velocity and coefficient of discharge. We are going to see them one by one. Coefficient of contraction, C sub C, it is a ratio between the area of jet at vena contracta to the area of orifice. And as we know, the area of jet at vena contracta is less than the area of orifice, so this ratio will always be less than 1. For circular orifice, we can rewrite the expression in the form of diameter. So it will be a ratio of dc square over d naught square, where dc is the area of contracted jet at the vena contracta and d naught is the area of orifice. For sharp edge orifice, C sub C is generally taken as 0.64, but it can vary from 0.61 to 0.69. Coefficient of velocity, it is a ratio of velocity at vena contracta to theoretical velocity. So it can be rewritten as V actual over V theoretical. And as we know from Torricelli theorem, V theoretical is under root 2gh. For sharp edge orifice, C sub B is generally taken as 0.98, but it can vary from 0.95 to 0.99. The ratio between the actual discharge from an orifice to theoretical discharge is coefficient of discharge. So as discharge is area into velocity, so we can split it in that. So actual discharge is actual velocity into actual area, and theoretical discharge is theoretical velocity into theoretical area. So the ratio of actual area to theoretical area is coefficient of contraction, and actual velocity to theoretical velocity is coefficient of velocity. So we get another relationship, that coefficient of discharge is coefficient of velocity into coefficient of contraction. For sharp edge orifice, coefficient of discharge is generally taken as 0.62, but it can vary from 0.61 to 0.65. For rounded orifice, the coefficient of discharge is 0.97. Let's see the experimental determination of these hydraulic coefficients. For coefficient of discharge, which is C sub D, is ratio of actual discharge to theoretical discharge. We obtain actual discharge from the experimental setup as shown over here. We have a reservoir which has an orifice on one side of its wall, and water is allowed to flow through it, which is then collected in a measuring tank. So the volume of collection is known and the time of collection is noted down using a stopwatch. Then using the relationship for discharge, which is ratio of volume over time, so we measure the actual discharge. And theoretical discharge is actually the theoretical area, which is the area of orifice, and theoretical velocity, which is under root 2gh. Now for coefficient of velocity, as we know, the trajectory of jet through an orifice, it is parabola. So we are going to make use of that parabolic equation. Let's say this C sub C, this is a section at vena contracta, and we have a point P located on the jet, and the horizontal distance from vena contracta till this point P is x, and the vertical distance from vena contracta to this point P is y. And as we know, velocity is distance over time, so rearranging, we get the horizontal distance as x equal to v into t, and the vertical distance is given as half gt square. So replacing the value of t, which is x over v, and then rearranging, simplifying for velocity, then taking square root, we get velocity, this is actual velocity, so this is equal to under root gx square over 2y. And as we know, theoretical velocity through an orifice is given by under root 2gh. Now replacing the value in C sub v, which is a ratio of actual velocity to theoretical velocity, and simplifying, we will get x over under root 4yh, where h is the head of fluid causing flow through an orifice. Now in order to determine coefficient of contraction, we can make use of the already known relationship, that is coefficient of discharge is equal to coefficient of velocity into coefficient of contraction. Since coefficient of discharge and velocity are already known, so we can rearrange the expression and find out coefficient of contraction as a ratio of CD over CV. The other way is, if we know the area of jet at vena contracta, since coefficient of contraction is a ratio of area of jet at vena contracta to the area of orifice, which is already known, so we can actually measure the diameter of jet at vena contracta by using outside caliper, and then from there we can know the area. When depth of water causing flow is less than 5 times the diameter of orifice, it is termed as large orifice. As for the small orifice, the velocity was considered constant, equal to under root 2gh. But for the large orifice, because of variation of velocity from the top edge to the bottom edge of the orifice, it can no longer be considered constant. So in order to incorporate the variation of velocity for the large orifice of width b and depth d, let's say h1 is the head of fluid causing flow from the top edge, and from the bottom edge the head is h2. Let's consider a small strip of thickness dh, and head of water causing flow from this strip is small h, and CD is the coefficient of discharge. As we know, the area of strip is B into dH, and theoretical velocity given by Torricelli theorem, it is equal to under root 2gh, where h is the head of fluid causing flow. So discharge will be coefficient of discharge into theoretical discharge. Theoretical discharge is area of strip into the velocity, where the area of the strip is B into dH, and velocity will be under root 2gh. Now in order to find out discharge through complete orifice area, we have to integrate it between limits h1 to h2, and then rearranging the expression, we can take CD into B into under root 2gh outside of the integral. So we have integral under root h dh, integrating it and applying the limits, we will get discharge equal to 2 by 3 CD into B under root 2g h2 power 3 by 2 minus h1 power 3 by 2. A tube or mouthpiece is a short pipe whose length is not more than 2 or 3 times the diameter. There is no sharp distinction between a tube and a thick walled orifice. A tube may be of uniform diameter or it may diverge. Please look at the figure. We have 3 different types of mouthpiece: reentrant, square edge, and a bell mounted. For all, the coefficient of contraction is equal to 1. For reentrant, the coefficient of velocity is 0.74, which indicates more losses as compared to the other two, whose coefficient of velocity are 0.82, and for bell mounted it is 0.98. Let's see the discharge through a nozzle. A nozzle is a tube of changing diameter, usually converging as shown in the figure over here. Let's consider two sections. The section 1 is taken at the complete diameter of the pipe, and section 2 is taken at a section uh, a little bit away from the opening of orifice such that it lies at vena contracta. So now let's write Bernoulli's equation between the section 1 and 2. Let's say P1 is a pressure at section 1, Z1 is this elevation, and V1 square is this velocity. Similarly, P2, Z2 and V2 are for the second section. Now if as we are taking the center of the pipe as the datum, so Z1 and Z2 are equal, or they can be considered equal to 0, and the section 2 is open to atmosphere, so it has atmospheric pressure, so gauge pressure P2 over gamma is 0. Now rearranging the expression, we get V2 square over 2g minus V1 square over 2g is equal to P1 over gamma. So we can use continuity equation, which is discharge is A1 V1, which is equal to A2 V2. So we can write this expression in this form. If we take 2g to the right hand side, and V2 would be Q over A2, and then taking the square. Similarly for V1, it can be replaced by Q over A1. Now simply rearrange this expression, and we can write the theoretical discharge expression Q theoretical as A1 A2 under root A1 square minus A2 square into under root 2g P1 over gamma. If you recall the expression derived for a Venturi meter or orifice meter, they were very much similar as we have obtained over here. Just the only observation required is P1 over gamma. And if we are interested in theoretical actual discharge, so we can simply multiply theoretical discharge by CD, which is coefficient of discharge, in order to obtain it. So jet is a stream coming out of a nozzle, orifice or a tube. So we will have to write the pressure equation for this U-tube manometer. Starting from the center of the pipe, the pressure is P1. As we go above, the pressure would be decreased, so it is minus by rho g h into h is a distance covered. So let's say this distance from the center to this level is x, so minus rho f g x, and then we have a datum line, so we'll come over here to the rightmost limb, and then again we have to take a rise for the height h, which is by the manometric fluid having density rho m, so rho mgh with a minus sign. In this form we have written equation in one go, so this is equal to 0 because the pressure at this at the free end is atmospheric pressure, so it is taken equal to 0. Now rearrange the expression divided by gamma f, and you will get P1 over gamma is equal to x plus sm over smh. So now let's compute head loss through a nozzle. We know HL is a head loss, and they have to be incorporated in a downstream section. So considering the section 1 and 2, the head loss, they are added to the second section. So if we write the energy equation, it can be written somewhat like this. Z1 plus P1 over gamma plus V1 square over 2G is equal to Z2 plus V2 over gamma plus V2 square over 2G plus HL, which is equal to H, the head causing flow. Since the elevation of section 1 and 2 are equal, so Z1 is equal to Z2, so they cancel out, and the jet, it is open to atmosphere, so P2 is equal to 0, and we know velocity through our orifice, it is given by under root 2gh. So replacing all this value in the above equation, we can rearrange it in this form. P1 over gamma plus V1 square over 2g is equal to V2 square over 2g plus HL is equal to H, the head causing flow. And we also know we can compute V2 if we are using the coefficient of velocity, which is a ratio of actual velocity to theoretical velocity. So V2 is CV under root 2gh. So taking square and then rearranging for h. So the total head causing flow, it is V2 square over 2g into 1 over Cv square. So replacing the value of h in this above expression and then rearranging it. So we get the head loss, it is equal to V2 square over 2g into 1 over Cv square minus 1. So from here we get the head loss is a function of velocity head and coefficient of velocity for the nozzle. So now if we calculate the efficiency of a nozzle, which is a ratio of output head to input head multiplied by 100. So the output head is V2 square over 2g and the input head is V2 square over 2g into 1 over Cv square. So we get that is equal to Cv square into 100. So efficiency of nozzle is directly proportional to square of coefficient of velocity. Discharge through Venturi meter, orifice meter and pitot tube, they were discussed in our previous topic on fluid dynamics. Let's discuss the working of pitot static tube over here. Before that, I would like to revise what is a pitot tube and piezometer tube. Pitot tube is a right angle bent tube which is used to measure total head, and piezometer tube is simple a vertical tube which is used to measure static head, that is a summation of pressure head and elevation head. While pitot static tube is a combination of piezometer tube and pitot tube, where one tube is inserted inside the other. The outer tube is given perforations, so it acts like a piezometer tube, while the inner tube is like a pitot tube. If you look at this figure, so from the center of the pipeline, the rise of liquid in a piezometer tube is pressure head, while for a pitot tube, the rise of liquid will be pressure head plus velocity head. This is the pitot static tube, where the outer tube is acting like a piezometer tube while inner tube is a pitot tube. So difference of elevation of liquid level in the two tubes will be equal to velocity head. Let's discuss the flow measurement in open channel, in which we are going to see notch and weir. Notch is a metallic plate which is mainly used in labs, and they are smaller in size, and they does not raise water level on the downstream side. While weirs are concrete or masonry structure which are used in field, they are much bigger in size and they raise the water level on the downstream side. Let's see some basic terminologies. Notch, which is defined as an opening in the side of a tank or vessel such that the liquid surface in the tank is below the top edge of the opening. So notch, it can be classified as an orifice if the water surface in the orifice is below its upper edge. So you can say a partially filled orifice is actually a notch, and it is made of metallic plate. Because it is used in a lab for load discharge, and it is used for measurement of rate of flow that is discharged through a small tank or a channel. Weir is basically the same thing as notch, but it is much larger in size and it is used in actual canals. So this is a regular obstruction created in the stream of brick masonry or concrete. So the sheet of fluid flowing above a notch or weir, it is known as nape, and the top of the weir over which the water flows is known as sill or crust. Let's see the classification of notches and weir. So based on shape, a notch can be classified in four: rectangular notch, triangular notch, trapezoidal notch, and step notch. We are going to see the discharge measurement through each of them. Then classification of weir, based on shape, it can be a rectangular weir or trapezoidal weir. Then based on the nature of discharge, is it ordinary or submerged? Based on the width of the weir, a narrow crusted or broad crusted, according to the nature of crust, sharp crusted weir or ogee weir. Let's compute the discharge over a rectangular notch. So the rectangular notch is actually a small opening in a rectangular shape which is compelling all the water in the stream to pass through that small rectangular opening. Because the area of the opening is known, so we can develop a relationship for velocity and compute discharge from that. So you can see the rectangular notch over here, and the nape of fluid, which is the sheet of the fluid, it is flowing above it, and this top of this notch is known as crust. So the length of this notch is L, and uh, let's consider a small strip of thickness DH, and the distance from the water surface to the center of the strip is H. The total water height above this rectangular notch is given as H, capital H. So as we know, the discharge through the strip is area of the strip into theoretical velocity, and we have to multiply it by CD to compute actual discharge. As we know, theoretical velocity is given by under root 2 gh, and the area of strip is length into dh. So in order to calculate the complete discharge, we simply have to integrate this expression. So integrating for the limits of 0 to h, because we are considering velocity to vary uniformly over this rectangular notch. So CdL into under root 2 gh dh. So we can take CdL under root 2g outside of the integral, which is integral h 1 by 2 dh. So simply integrating and applying limits, we will get this final expression, which is q equal to 2 by 3 CdL under root 2g h power 3 by 2. If you remember, we had a much similar expression for a rectangular reface as well. So it is easiest to remember the expression if you relate it with the same shape. Now let's see discharge over a triangular notch, which is also known as V notch. So the shape of the V notch is shown over here, and for a center, the apex, the vertex angle is theta, and the distance from the water surface to its apex, it is h. And we have to calculate the discharge in a similar way, which is we'll consider a strip of thickness dh, and its distance from the water surface is h. And the discharge is area of the strip into theoretical velocity, which is same under root 2 gh. But as you can see, because of its shape, as the height it changes, the length of the strip will change. So we have to come up with relationship with this angle theta. So let's divide this complete rectangle into two. Sorry, this complete triangle into two. So ACO is half triangle. It is drawn over here, you can see. So its angle is theta by 2, and the height is capital H minus small h. So AC is actually the half length of the strip. For complete length, we will multiply it by 2. So we can use a tan theta by 2 relationship. So tan theta by 2 is actually AC over capital H minus small h. So AC, which is the required length, it will be tan theta by 2 into capital H minus small h. And the complete length of the strip is from AC plus CB, so taking it equal, so we will multiply it by 2. So now simply take the integral, and the limits will be from 0 to h, taking the constant outside, 2 under root 2g tan theta by 2, and then simply integrating, applying the limits, and you will have the final expression. For actual discharge, you also have to multiply by CD. So it is 8 over 15 CD under root 2g tan theta by 2 h over 5 by 2. Triangular notch has certain advantages over rectangular notch. Because of its shape, it can be used for very small value of discharge, and the expression for discharge is very simple because only one reading is required, which is the H, the water level, and it will give more accurate result with the low discharge, and the ventilation of triangular notch is also not necessary. Now let's see a trapezoidal notch, which is a combination of a rectangular notch and a triangular notch. if CD1 is a coefficient of discharge for a rectangular portion and CD2 is a coefficient of discharge for triangular portion, so discharge through a trapezoidal notch is simply summation of discharges from the two portions, rectangular and a triangular. So this is the discharge through a rectangular notch portion, and this is the discharge from a triangular notch portion. So simply sum them up. Let's consider the discharge through a step notch. A step notch, which is a combination of rectangular notches. So we actually have to divide this step into horizontal strips. So the total discharge through a step notch Q will be actually equal to the discharge through the first step Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. And the length of the first step is L1, for the second step it is L2, for the third step it is L3, and the height of the liquid from the water surface till the bottom of this first step is H1, till the bottom of second step is H2, till the bottom of third step is H3. So the limits for this first step, it is the upper limit is H2, lower limit is upper limit is H1, the lower limit is H2. For the second step, the upper limit is H2, lower limit is H3, and for the third step, the upper limit is H3, lower limit as 0.